talking to a packed charity lunch for the E.J. Whitten Legends game, a lunch he knew was full of journalists and other media people. Mal referred to 3 Aboriginal players as, I quote, cannibals. This is what he had to say.
First game we played, we had a distinct disadvantage in Western Australia because the Victorians picked both sides. They cheated, they picked the best players. And because there was no lights, I couldn't pick any of the cannibals. I couldn't pick Nicky Whitmar or Michael Mitchell or Chrissy Lewis. All the good black fellas, we couldn't pick them because they couldn't see them in the light. The Vic said, we can't have it, we can't have it.
That's right. This is 2010 and he's still calling Aboriginal players cannibals. The line, Mal, I do appreciate you joining us. Mate, what were you thinking?
Most probably nothing. Being quite honest about it, we were there promoting a good cause, having a bit of fun, taking the mickey out of each other, and obviously by the reaction that I've heard that it was not as funny as I thought, and it's inappropriate use of the English grammar, I suppose. I think not suppose, it was.
Do you think, you can, I know you've worked a lot with Aboriginal players in the past, but can you imagine how offensive it is to someone like Michael Long or Sid Jackson who have worked so hard for so long to build up respect?
Well, respect's 2 ways. You got to remember that some of these boys themselves have made mistakes in their lives, and we've got to be tolerant of that. So they also have to be tolerant that someone like me that has made a dickhead comment, which is inappropriate in 2010, which we would have most probably accepted as part of our way of life growing up with the Aboriginal boys.
So you regret it, and here's a chance. Would you like to apologise for it?
Well, I'm not apologising for. I'm apologising for the inappropriateness. We were talking in relation to being 15 years ago, and when we're talking about 15 years ago, we used to make those jokes and about ourselves, about them calling me fatty, and about how hard it was to get a kick in the dark, and all those sort of things. So we were talking retrospectively at a function with 60 people about what happened 15 years ago, not what happened in 2010. So if in 2010 that's offended people, I'm surprised it's got the press when we've got such a dickhead of a Prime Minister, and he doesn't get page 1 for his mistakes he's making minutely, and this gets
hang on, Mal,
because this gets front page for something which, I'm happy for the Aboriginal people to judge me when I die for what I've done, not what I've said.
Okay, well, Sid Jackson, who I know you've had a lot to do with, is livid at what you said.
I went to Sid Jackson's 21st in 1965, 66 and 67.
Gee. So, Mal, he has said this morning that he is livid at you for what you've said.
Well, Sid would say that, most probably, and I respect his opinion. But Sid's made a few mistakes in his life as well. So I've grown up with Sid. I played with him in 1965. And I just hope that his attitude's consistent with what it has been all the rest of his life with me.
Okay, now, are you saying 15 years ago you used to call Aboriginals cannibals and that was fine? You used to call them cannibals
joke about them.
To their faces?
Whether it was the use of the word cannibal or whether it was a little back bugger or things like that, those things were used as a term. It was used as a term for me of endearment. And if you ask the Aboriginal boys, there was never any racism, or they weren't treated worse than anybody else. They were treated exactly the same as everybody else from me, because they were given a fair go. Because, it's all you eastern state people that work out that Aboriginals, you think it solves a problem by just giving them money over the years. The most important thing is like bringing up your children, you've got to put in time, and you've got to spend time. And time is, not many people want to give up time, they're all so happy to give a check.
But
my life's been about living with them over all my life and being friends with them for all my life.
And don't you see, Mal, after all that good work, you've created, your own worst nightmare by casting aspersions on that, by saying what you said.
I just said that in 2010, I've made a dickhead of myself by using that terminology. But if you're sitting in there and saying that you haven't made a dickhead of yourself over your career, I'd be very surprised. And I don't want to be judged on what I've said. I'll be judged on what I've done.
Okay, I take your point. I have made a dickhead of myself many times, but
We all do.
but is it also correct? As you left, you spoke to some journos and said, don't report or don't write about what I said about those abos.
I was one of the blokes. No, I don't know if that's true. I said, be careful what you report or something, because I didn't know that. I thought this was just a fun function. I didn't know it was going to be put through the media like it was, and that's my fault because it was a launch. And you've got to remember, some of these guys, the only highlights they get in their whole life is a highlight story. And some of these journalists, you wouldn't give them, if you went away on a week's holiday, you wouldn't give them your checkbook to pay your accounts. So some of them are very sensationalistic. And if you take it in the context of everybody joking, everyone being called, me being called fatty, I mean, you don't worry about how scarred I've been over the years, and I could have become anorexic because of it.
Mal, but you must have realised by saying what you said in front of journos, you must have realised that that is a story.
Well, no, the whole lot was a story once you see them there. But I didn't take any notice of that because when I was there at the function, we were all ad-libbing, mucking around, joking about the first game. And as I said, I don't know if you were aware of the first game. They didn't have the lights weren't there. They had to bring the lights down from Sydney. We couldn't get hold of half the boys to ring them up to get them to play. And I was just totally in jest. But in the day, it's insensitive, people would say to me. It told me this morning, it wasn't humorous that I've made a dickhead of myself. I accept that.
Oh, well, I'm pleased to hear that.
But I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Am I supposed to pull my pants down and go and kiss everyone's ass?
No, I certainly wouldn't ask you to do that, Mal.
Well, I mean, what do? You've made it. If I'm the only one in the world that's made it, but I'm not racist. I've helped the Aboriginal boys. I've grown up with them all my life, and all the people you seeing running around here, the boy Dicks that playing for Code, I knew they had played with their uncles or grandfathers and boundary umpires for the Headlands. I know these kids, and they know that what I say would not be any racism in it. It was just a silly terminology that I used at the wrong time at the wrong place.
All you can do is do what you've done, and that is admit what you did was wrong, and you made a dickhead of yourself. Yeah.
But I mean, guys, have a look how often, and I'm not justifying it because I accept being a dickhead, and it's put pressure on most probably other people because of it, and it's not meant to be. And I hope I keep and maintain my relationship. And as I said, when I die, mate, let them assess me on what I've done compared to what all these people do that just used to want to hand out checks and not put in any time.